We kick things off in Spain as it finishes Atletico Madrid 2, Juventus 0. This one goalless at the half, but Atleti much better after the break. We saw goals from Jimenez and Godin, giving Atleti that 2-0 advantage going into the second leg in Turin. We get the views from the boys in the studio here in a moment, but let's first go to Sid Lowe in Spain. Sid, this was a really good performance from Atleti.
Yeah, it was. It really was. And I think it was as well at a time when they probably needed this. They needed it because their league form has been a little patchy of late. Of course, they were beaten by Betis. They only beat Rayo Vallecano 1-0. They lost the Madrid derby here. And also, I think there was a sense that maybe some of those things that made Atletico Madrid were slightly slipping away from them. I think it was important that they announced a renewal of Simeone to try and reinforce that idea of belief in how they go about things. And tonight's performance was fantastic. Bear in mind as well, against a Juventus side who everybody thought was one of the key favourites to win the competition this year, and that it was really, really bad luck from Atletico Madrid's point of view. I think the response tonight was fantastic.
I think everybody predicted that Juve would advance, and that's not a slight on you guys here in the studio. It was
they're not out.
It was on the evidence. No, that's very true.
Unless it's now a one-leg affair.
No, it's not a one-leg affair.
Well, don't be
yes,
smart.
They're going back to Turin, but what I was saying is that everyone picked Juventus for a reason, because on paper they look a much better side this season.
And they might be.
But they didn't show up for this.
Well, they had a bad
minutes.
night. They did, and credit Atleti, particularly in the second half. And they looked rattled and flustered, and they got this, from open play. And Costa should have scored when he was clean through. It was a horrendous finish for a quality player like him, one-on-one. Whenever they put a set piece in the box in the second half, Juventus didn't handle it, and they're a big side if you think about Ronaldo and Mandzukic and Emre Can, Chiellini, Bonucci, and then you've got Szczesny, but they couldn't handle the set pieces coming in. And they looked rattled, and it was unlike them. But that's what Atleti can do to you sometimes. Yeah. And I was impressed with them, and I thought as the game wore on, some of Griezmann's touches were excellent as well, showing his quality. And this is a side that have struggled for goals, but they could have had themselves probably 3 or 4 tonight.
And this wasn't an Atleti side that just camped outside the box and tried to catch Juve on the break. Second half, as Craig said, they were playing attractive, good football.
Yeah, and a team that thrives on energy, that thrives on intensity, but usually that energy and intensity happens in the defensive third. That's usually where they win their games, because from there they go on attack, and from there maybe they get a set piece, whatever the case may be. That's usually what fuels Atletico and fuels the Atletico Madrid fans at the Wanda Metropolitano. In this case, it was the fact that Atletico Madrid, in the second half, they said, you know what? We are playing against a vulnerable Juventus here. We can go attack this team. We're going to use the energy of the stadium and our own intensity on the field, and we're going to take that to the middle third, to the attacking third, create turnovers, and that's where the Diego Costa chance comes from. A turnover, Griezmann picks the ball out, passes the ball to Diego Costa, and now he's 1v1. Usually we don't see this from Atletico Madrid. We see a team that is very comfortable with the 0-0, very comfortable with the idea of maybe scoring a set piece and that's it. In this case, even Diego Simeone, with his substitution patterns, essentially made the decision of saying, we can beat Juventus tonight. Never mind the second leg. We can beat them tonight, and we can make a statement tonight, and they certainly did so.
What's wrong with Juventus? I think everyone agreed that this was arguably their best chance to go all the way in this competition.
Yeah, I'm really not sure. And it's surprising from Juventus to see a team of that experience and that quality react as the way they did. In the first 45, I thought Juventus controlled the game. I thought Ronaldo looked as comfortable as anybody I've seen up against Atletico Madrid. At times, they seemed to have Atletico Madrid on the ropes, and the approach was, well, if we get a knockout punch, fair enough, but we don't really have to press them. 0-0 would do us quite fine. And then all of a sudden, that changed in the second half. Atletico Madrid realized they were second best. They came out, went at Juventus with pace, and I thought that was important. Turning the ball, getting the ball forward quickly on them. As much as set piece maybe was the difference between the two on the night, I thought Atletico Madrid's football was far better and quite clearly unsettled Juventus in a way that you don't see Bonucci and Chiellini be unsettled. And in the end, 2-0 was kind of flattering to Juventus. And that speaks of Atletico Madrid's own sensing of the situation and turning things around when they needed to.
Where did this go wrong for Juve? I know they're not out.
I thought they looked ropey defensively, and I thought that there was a lot of spaces in the midfield as the game opened up, which is completely against what you would think they were going to try and do. Is keep it tight, but they got a little bit spread out, and then they didn't handle the set pieces well, and there was space in behind. And we know Bonucci and Chiellini are great defenders, but they're not at their age now the quickest. But they've got a chance to make up for it, let's be honest about it. But I was impressed with Atleti. I wasn't impressed with the manager's actions on the sideline.
Well, yeah, let's not...
He was a little bit...
he'll get suspended for that, clearly.
He'll be watching from a Perspex window again.
Yes,
probably.
He's used to that.
It seems to be every other week he's doing that. But no, you know, Juventus are going to have to now break down one of the toughest, rugged, well-organised, quality teams in European football, and that's going to be a tough task.
A couple of details here. You brought Cristiano Ronaldo for a reason to this team, right? And he's supposed to be your guy. Now, there was a moment in this game where he flashed his hand like this for the 5 Champions League, right? Or the 5 titles, whatever. If you're going to be that guy, that you're going to flash your hand, then you cannot be the same guy that turns away from Diego Godin when Diego Godin is about to score the second goal. Then you have to go and defend. Because you turn your back now, deflects off of you, and it goes in. If you're Cristiano Ronaldo and you like the attention, then you got to like the attention both ways. And that 1-0 is a whole, it's different than 2-0. There's no question about that, because Atletico Madrid going to Turin, pick a team in the world that you'd rather have to hold on to that 2-0 lead. It would be Atletico Madrid.
VAR, of course, came into play for the first time in the knockout stages this year, and it was called upon a couple of times. Said the first one, the Diego Costa penalty that the referee initially gave, clearly, looking at the replay, it was outside of the box. The second one, not as clear-cut. The boys in the studio, we all watched it together, thought that the referee got it spot on. In the end, there was a push from Morata, despite the fact he got the goal. Do you agree?
Yes, I do. I think one of the things it's worth adding, though, at this stage is, as you've just said, looking at the replay, the decisions were right. Of course, there's 68,000 people in this stadium who aren't looking at a replay. And so they're kind of baffled by this. And Morata, obviously, he knows that he's pushed the defender in the back. But there is this moment where he celebrates. The stadium even booms out the post-goal music, which maybe it shouldn't do. I think most of us would agree we don't particularly like that. But it did feel like a kind of a real emotional letdown. I think one of the many impressive things about Atletico Madrid tonight was this is a club that has been given to fatalism over the years, and when you've had 2 breakthroughs, and you really do think you've broken through, taken away from you by VAR, one that you think you've got a penalty, the other that you think you've got the goal, it was very possible, I think, at that stage for Atletico Madrid to crumple, but instead they did the opposite. At a time when I think a lot of people in this stadium who hadn't seen those VAR decisions were kind of feeling like the opportunity had slipped away, Diego Simeone felt the opposite, and he sent that team even more aggressively into attack. And in that sense, I think they were very, very impressive indeed, and even the VAR couldn't damage them in the end.
Right, let's talk about the decision, shall we? Because a lot of people on Twitter are suggesting that, come on, you know, that wasn't a push to warrant that sort of reaction.
How do they know? How do they know?
Well, it's Twitter, they know everything.
I mean, how do they know? How do we know? How do you know? The only thing, you know, the first one was definitely outside.
Yep.
The Chilio clip and Costa, which, by the way, to the naked eye, and you could watch it again, and you still think it was inside. Until it's slowed down, it becomes obvious. So that's where VAR is a big improvement. The push, the amount of force is subjective. So the referee, that's always going to be a point for argument. What's not a point for argument is the 2 hands on the back. Right. So the referee, I think 10 out of 10 referees will make that decision based on the fact that hands were on the back. You can argue to the cows come home about, you know, how much strength was in the push. It's like talking about how much contact when the leg comes over. You know, at the end of the day, when you put your arms in those positions in the box on a defender, you're going to get an infringement against you 99.9% of the time.
People are saying, isn't it part of the game? It's physical. There's going to be that sort of contact in the box.
Not the 2-handed push. And Morata gave it away as well. Because he scores the goal and he starts looking back almost as if to say, oh, did anybody see that? Did anybody see it? Or maybe he was surprised that he scored. One of the two. But the truth of the matter is that once you have the 2-handed push full stretch, there's no question. No referee looking at that is going to say, yeah, let's let it stand. No, 2-handed push can't get away with it.
In total agreement. Morata starts with the arms on Chiellini's back. There is some extension. We can argue as long as we want about how much force there was in that extension. But once, as a referee, you see that, you don't have any kind of...
Actually, he almost got away with it because there was and credit the Spanish the host broadcaster,
Yeah.
because they finally got that angle.
Because we saw 3 or 4 replays, didn't we, before the angle from behind the goal?
It was, I think it was the reverse from the other end that it sort of zoomed in, and that was conclusive. Because the other ones, you kind of wondered about it, and I think until he saw that angle, we all went, right, he's going to chop that off now.
Yeah, most definitely.
So well done to them.
So you take a look, Atleti, of course, favourites to advance, 5-1 on. They are strong favourites. Sid, they should get this done, shouldn't they?
Yeah, they should. And I think as well, you know, it goes beyond just tonight, and it goes beyond just whether or not they get through now. There was a real sense, I think, coming into this game that, you know, that dream of playing in the final here in their own stadium was one that was looking a little bit ropey. I think people left here tonight thinking, hang on a minute, this is possible again. You know, don't underestimate how much respect there was for Juventus, how much fear there was of Juventus, and how much fear there was about their own form. And suddenly now, not only are they favourites to go through, and as you say, they should get this done, but you look at this and you start to think, yeah, this could open up.
This is such a big game now. We have to be sending Sid low to Turin.
Do you think so?
Sid loves a trip.
Wow.
Sid loves a trip.
I thought she allowed a trip outside of Spain.
Only if I can invite people to the restaurant.
That's it. So just a reminder as well, the fact that Juve didn't get their away goal. So if they score, Juve need to score 4.
If they score, yeah. It's going to be a heck of a night in Turin, bearing in mind what they've laid on the line, Juventus, with the Ronaldo signing, and how, by their standards, poor they were in this evening game. But I'm going to go for Juve to get back in it.
Wow.
Take the game to extra time.
Yes.
And win it then.
Wow.
That's
I just think it's so big for them, bearing in mind what they've splashed out in the summer and who they splashed out on.
Wow. Are you going to go as intricate?
That's a win-win
details?
for me.
Why is it a win-win?
I'll tell you that. I'll tell you after.
We're keeping secrets now.
I worked that out. Right.
No. If you gave me the choice of any team in the world to do this away from home and to keep it at 0, I would pick Atletico Madrid.
I agree with Ali here. Atletico Madrid, a 2-goal lead. There's nobody better just sitting back, soaking up pressure and denying the opponent space. Atleti can do that better than anybody else. I'm with Atleti here.